Has anyone had a celebrity NSFW encounter? What's your story? I had a friend who met Jason Segel at a bar in LA. She said he was fairly drunk and all over the place with their conversation. At point he just point blank said to her, "So are we gonna have sex?" She said, "No." He responded okay and then just walked away back to his table. This wasn't me. It was my mom. My mom was on her honeymoon in Hawaii when she bumped into O.J. Simpson before he went crazy. He looked at her and asked to head to his room. She pointed at her ring finger and said, "Oh, I just got married." He takes her hand and puts it down, looks at her and says that matters why. In the end she called over my dad and he took a picture of her with OJ, which is now forever in her honeymoon album. Edit. This was in 1988. Edit. I found the photo. A guy walked by me at the airport as I sat waiting to board and kid you not farted mere inches from my face. I looked up. It was Bon Jovi. Saw Tim Allen's mistress sprinting out of his trailer after his wife showed up at the set of one of those Santa Claus movies he was filming. I rode in a hotel elevator with Red Sox pitcher Derek Lowe at like 2 in the morning while he was making out with 2 women at the same time. I slept with an NFL player 6 times in 3 weeks in the late 1990s. He's never come out, so I can't out him, but he's got a wife and more than a couple children. He's retired now, but he still does lots of stuff in the public eye, foundations, charities, that sort of shit. I wish him well. P.S. He has a small weenie for a great big beast of man. I was next to the table of Leo DiCaprio at Catch in New York. Saw him get with an 18-year-old IMG model, then proceeded to take her home. Saw them leave together like it was nothing. The girl had the biggest smile on her face too. My sister ran into Matthew McConaughey in a bar years ago. They hit it off and they went back to her place. She got overwhelmed by nerves and said she had to go run out to her car to get something. She sat in her car freaking out for God knows how long until he eventually gave up and left. Must have baffled the poor guy. Your sister definitely told you the brother-friendly version of this story. Friend of ours is a hotel hospitality manager. She was alone in a room with Russell Brand. He very politely offered to have sex with her. She said her husband was waiting downstairs for her. Brand said he could come up too. This doesn't surprise me in the least bit. I was in a very massive men's room at a venue taking a piss. I was about 15 urinals deep and bathroom was completely empty as far as I could tell. Besides me, in walks Jack Black. He walks right up to the urinal next to me. Nothing weird happened, but I always found it bizarre that he didn't space himself out better. That's a man code violation. Holy shit, I never thought I'd get the chance to tell this story. I can't tell people in real life because they will never believe me, and I guess you guys will probably call me a liar too, but whatever. I went on a date with Taylor Swift before she got super famous. It was right out of high school when she was making a name for herself, but not yet a gigantic deal. I knew her because we lived near each other. It was the craziest thing, really. I only asked her out on a dare because even not famous, she was way out of my league. But it turns out she was really nice and enjoyed the opportunity to go hang out for a while. She always had a reputation as a girl who burns the candle at both ends, and she's always stressed, so I think she just wanted to relax. It was a pretty basic just out of high school date. We went to see a movie, and I got to feel like a jackass rolling up to her super nice house in my post-ats and honeybee. Don't let her early work fool you. She's a rich kid. Anyway, onto the crap you guys are actually wanting to hear about. So, after the movie and some dinner, we go back to my place to listen to some music. After a while, she pretends to be interested in checking out the hiking trails out behind my house. She said she really enjoys being out in the woods, but I figured she just wanted to be away from my parents. So we get out into the woods and very quickly get into some heavy making out. Clothes go everywhere, and that's when this story starts to take its turn. Gentlemen, I have some things to tell you about Taylor Swift. First thing, turns out she loves giving head. Pretty much the most enthusiastic beach of my life happened on that trail. She couldn't get enough. However, she's terrible at it. She's got heart, but I hope for all future guys' sakes that she took some lessons. She's all teeth, and she's got that thing where her tongue is just ridiculously rough. After a while of that, we get down to the main event. Another thing you should know about her is that she is somewhat hairier than one might expect from a super hot rich girl. I never got to ask her what was up with that, actually. So anyway, we are getting our awkward teenage bone on, and she's just as crazy as she was before. Except this time she's just straight up clawing my back to shreds. I'm not going to pretend I didn't make it where I needed to go, but goddamn I was expecting some kind of revelation from her. It was one of those things where it is so disappointing because you had expected so much from it. So, after it was all said and done, we are putting our clothes back on when I notice that I'm actually bleeding from my back. I had known she had hair heart in it, but I didn't expect for her to draw blood. But then I noticed her nails were longer and sharper than I had noticed before. And that's when I started to put it all together. She clawed my back. Her BJ was all teeth. She likes being in the woods. She went on a date with a guy driving a Datsun Honeybee. Guys, Taylor Swift is a motherfucking bear. In early 2013 a female friend and I went to an after party that Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, was jing at after one of his concerts in Sydney. After his DJ set, we were smoking outside when Donald exits the venue through a side door. We looked over at him, and he immediately approaches us and introduces himself. Right from the get-go, my friend starts flirting with him hard. He asks us if we had any weed. We did, and he invited us back to his hotel to smoke with him. We ended up on the balcony of his hotel suite along with a couple of other guys smoking a blunt. My friend is all over him. I've never seen her try so hard to get with a guy. I could tell from pretty early on that he wasn't into it at all. He was staring off into the distance and ignoring her or responding with one-word answers. After about half an hour, he stands up and says, "I'm going to bed." My friend asks him if she should come, to which he looks her dead in the eye and says, "I honestly don't give a fuck what you do," and walks off. We left soon after that. About a year later I read an interview with him where he said that he tried to kill himself on that Australian tour. In hindsight the way he was acting definitely seemed like someone who was depressed. Friend was pissing next to Shaq at a club in Miami. Of course he can't keep his eyes on the road and tried to sneak a peek at Shaq's junk. Shaq turns to him, smiles and says, "Crazy right? Big guy, regular dick." All I can think about is how your friend was probably eye level with his junk. Not me, but my friend banged Mark Wahlberg at Cannes in the late 90s. They were at one of the parties, they drank, they flirted, they went to his hotel room, they boned. Pretty standard stuff for Marky Mark around that time, I reckon. My friend was super hot with perfect 10 tits and ass, so I wasn't surprised she pulled a movie star. Back in 2003 I worked at the Best Buy in Westwood, UCLA, store 327. It's no longer there, but we'd get famous people in from time to time. Jessica Alba bought 2 Xboxes from me, told my manager I was great. Christina Aguilera came in a few times. Anyhow, this was back in my weed smoking prime and basically only CA had incredible strains like Ogkush. One night we are closing up, and 2 guys are playing Madden on the store's box or PlayStation, and it was Snoop and Method Man. I told them we were closing, and they were very friendly and polite, so I said, "Hey guys, I'll be outside in like 10 minutes, if you want. I got some Ogkush, if you want to smoke. I have an Oldsmobile Alero, gold color in the lot." They leave, I walk out, and sure enough Snoop and Method Man are parked next to my car. So I got high as fuck with 2 legends and went home. I was shooting behind the scenes photos of a D-list celebrity boxing tournament in college. After a long day of witnessing the power of egos and 15 minutes of fame, the Optimum giving me Advil for my back, Coolio calling me a G, and seeing Joe's Canseco put on fake tattoo sleeves, I was ready for drink. I had been talking to an absolutely beautiful ring girl and she wanted to join me for a beer after the fights ended. We went upstairs to the bar and she went to get us a table. I went over to the bar, and while waiting for the drinks, fucking Ron Jeremy himself came up next to me. He said he had seen me talking to the girl all night and offered to wingman for me. Luckily my confidence was already sky high for already getting the girl to come drink with me, so I politely declined and went to join her waiting at a table nearby. He told me to stick my thumb in her butt later for him. Edit. I failed all of you that night. Reddit. We made out for a bit, but she had a flight to catch, and I had to drive home. Talk for a bit over texting, but she was never back in my area. Here is a pic of me and the gal. I don't think I still have the rest of the images. I was in the bathroom of a restaurant in Vegas taking a massive shit. In walks someone and sits in the next stall. After a couple moments I hear, holy shit, what died over there? I apologize and eventually get up and wash my hands. As I was drying them, the other stall flushes and out walks Ryan fucking Reynolds. If I hadn't have just shit, I would have shit my pants. He looks at me and just shakes his head and asks what I ate so that he doesn't do this to his wife. I just mutter Subway. Anyways, we continued talking while he was drying his hands and he asked where my table was. I tell him, and by the fate of God he was sitting just a few over. Next thing I know, my girlfriend and I are sitting at the same table as Reynolds and his wife. Honestly, the best 3-hour dinner I've ever had. I've met other famous people before, but I've never met anyone as genuine and down to earth as him. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.